So good morning, good morning. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Women's Coffee Shop Coffee Club. We created this club for women to have a safe space to share and inspire each other. And this morning we will be learning from Silke she's from the UK. So welcome her, Silke. And thank you everyone for coming to this platform so we can learn together here. With that, Silke, if you don't mind to introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about your background and why you chose this topic, we would appreciate it. So go ahead and take it from here.
Yeah, sure. I'm Silke. I'm a German living in the UK for over 30 years, and I'm currently in the north of the UK, like you just heard a minute ago. And yeah, I publish books, but that is my most current business. But I've got a huge varied background. I'm a life coach. I'm called the Inner Hippie, and I used to run the Inner Hippie Club where I teach women how to release their inner hippie, which is that carefree teenage feeling that we all once had before life got serious and we got bills. So and my entire business is based around working with women, empowering women. And the other thing I do as well is I connect with nature. I'm a huge believer in that nature is the very thing that we must protect. Gaia, Mother Earth. Call this planet what you will, but this is our home that we live on. So most of my work that I do in the publishing business is all around that, empowering women and also connecting people back with nature and making people aware of nature as well. And yeah, a little bit about my background. I've got quite a colorful and varied career, really. When I left school, everybody expected me to go to university and do all the usual things that I expected. Well, I didn't. I headed off backpacking to the UK, met my husband, stayed, we got married in a whirlwind sort of like romance, and started our first band and ended up as gigging musicians for over 20 years, earning a living. So I used to play bass in a rock and roll band, the only girl amongst lots and lots of guys. In all those 20 years, I never met another female bass player or musician in the bands I was in. So I know a thing or two about what it's like to have to stand on your own feet and like stand up for yourself, speak up for yourself. And I think that's where my passion comes from, to empower other women, because I'm all throughout my life I have met barriers, like I think we all have at one point or the other. People saying you can't do that because you're a female, or you shouldn't be doing that, that's not seemly, or like even my own mother, why can't you ever wear a pretty dress when you go on stage? And they're like, because a badass rock and roll player doesn't do that. But I just have experienced a lot of the prejudices, but I've also experienced how you can overcome those and how you can overcome them, I would say, quite easily, because in all those years that I've worked just amongst guys, I've ended up actually being accepted as one of the group most of the time. And it's about, I think, how you present yourself, even as a female. You don't have to lose your femininity or anything. You don't have to pretend to be a guy. But I think if you just stand up for yourself and everybody can see that you're authentic and that you mean what you're doing, even the guys start accepting you. So that's my really big passion in life, and that's what I've carried over into my books as well, because I publish multi-author books, and they contain stories of women who've all done the same thing in a way. They've overcome obstacles. They have done things that were not expected of them, and they are leading the life of their dreams. And that's what I'm doing at the moment. And I also work with these women as a writing coach. And that's what brings me to the topic now that I'm going to be talking about in this hour, is how you can write a book in 90 days. Because time and time again, I've been talking to women wanting to write a book, or they realize that it's important to get their story out there because they have a lot of valuable things to say. And the days of the old publishing are over, where a publishing house decides whether or not your story is valuable or should be heard. So the modern way of publishing is that everybody's voice is valid. Everybody has a story to tell, and in fact, the stories of so-called ordinary people out there, I mean, even though none of us are ordinary, we're all unique in our own way. Ordinary in the sense that we're not a Kardashian, that we're not like a huge TV superstar or anything. You know, those stories of people in everyday life are just so important because they are the stories that other readers can relate to. And these are also the stories that teach the most, because well, when you read, say, the autobiography of a star, okay, you probably find out what their career was like, but there is not often anything in there that relates to you as a person. It may be fun to read, but you know that this everyday interaction is often missing. That's what I love about stories from the women I work with. They come from every walk of life, and each one is just so unique in her own perspective as well. So whenever you read a story, you get a brand new perspective, you get a brand new idea about things. And but one thing most women have got in common, they're really scared to get started. That's a huge stumbling block. You know, it's the fact that even though nearly everybody you speak to says, oh, I would love to write a book one day, in fact, only 1% of the world's population will ever end up going through with it and actually publishing this. And the reason why is not so much that they can't write, because everybody can write. I mean, all of us write on social media every day. And as long as you come from a country where education is provided, you can write. You are really capable of putting your story out there. But the real reason why hardly anybody achieves to write this book is purely in the head. It's the old imposter syndrome speaking up, saying, oh, who, I can't do that. Who am I to write a book? Or you tell yourself, I haven't got the time. You know, you're so super busy that how can you possibly fit in writing a book as well? And there's all sorts of other excuses, which basically boil down to like the fear of getting started. And that's what I have focused on in these last few months in particular. I have adjusted all my writing coaching to address this initial writer's block, because once you're over this initial writer's block, you'll find that it comes very quickly, that you can write a book in absolutely no time at all. In fact, when I teach people how to write a book in 90 days, a lot of them get it done much quicker than that. Because once you're in the flow, suddenly things start coming, ideas start coming. And yes, you will find the time, because suddenly that you know, that movie on Netflix or the series you were going to binge watch is not so important anymore. You are going to start actually focusing on your writing. You get into it and you get into this zone of flow, which is a beautiful place to be. When it's the same zone you are in when you're engaging in your favorite hobby. Like if you're a painter, you might know it. Or if you're a poet, you know, you focus on something you are doing and you get really engrossed, and you look up at the clock and 5 hours have gone and you've not even noticed. And once you're in that zone, things just flow lovely. And that is what I teach. And today I would like to take all of you through just a little bit of the whole process. And the very first thing you have to do when you actually want to write your book is you have to really sit down and think in your head, yes, I can do this. But of course, that's easier said than done. But you also have to really sit down and figure out a topic. Now, that seems really obvious, but that is actually one step that a lot of people fail at, and a lot of my authors have got this trouble. And because sometimes you've got so many ideas in the head that it becomes very difficult to actually focus and pinpoint on what you should be writing about. Because when you do write a book, and I focus solely on nonfiction. So in this case, we're talking about books that will do some good in some way or other for your business. So you are telling your story, but at the same time that somehow links in with your business because you're wanting to use the book to elevate your business, to become an expert, and so on. So a really big problem that a lot of my authors got is they have too many ideas. So they might say, oh yeah, I want to write about this, that, but hang on a minute, would that actually be beneficial for my business? Or would it be better to use a different angle, different focus? So the very first thing I normally do with my authors is brainstorm. And the really simplest way of brainstorming is meditating. That may seem a bit odd, but it works a real treat. And I would just today like to try this with you. Do a really quick, short meditation now. And the meditation will be followed by spontaneous writing. So I don't know if any of you have ever heard of that, but it's basically when you meditate, and I'll be taking you through a meditation and ask certain questions that will lead your focus to the purpose of your writing. And then as soon as you come out of the meditation, you either write down everything that comes into your head for about 5 minutes, or you can even use your phone and dictate it into your phone, whatever you prefer. And the idea is not to overthink it, not to start censoring anything that comes into your head, to literally write down every single thought that comes into your head in those minutes immediately after the meditation. And excuse me, if that means that you've just been thinking about making dinner, okay, write even that down. Or any thought that might sound trivial, or that might be you might think, oh well, what's that all about? Still write it down, because don't censor nothing. Because once you actually write every single thought down that comes into your head and then read it back afterwards, you'll be surprised. You might find a nugget in there that'll tell you exactly what it is you should be writing about. And that way you are brainstorming in a really natural way, and you'll be getting lots and lots of ideas. You'll be channeling straight from source, and you can use that afterwards for all your writing. I run a regular weekly writers club and do exactly the same there. The writers who come to the sessions just listen to the meditation and then literally just write. We're all on camera. We're like a Zoom group, and they use the ideas that came during the meditation to get all their work done. Like even they write their entire social media post for the week, or they know they need to get an essay done and they use that for the essay, and it works really well. Most of them get their entire work down on paper or in a Word document within the hour. So if you would like to, I'll do a little meditation now with you, and just get something ready you can write. Like I say, it could be open up a Word doc ready on your laptop, or speak it into your phone, or even grab a pen and paper. and also get yourself nice and settled and comfortable. And I always do my meditations with my little tank drum. I don't like to use backing tracks, so it's all live, and my meditations are also channeled. I don't know now what I'm going to be saying in a few minutes' time. It's all spontaneous. So close your eyes. Make sure you're nice and comfortable. And take a deep breath in. And out. Take another deep breath in. And out. One more time. In. And out. And with the next breath in, you breathe in golden light. The golden light floods your body into the very last cell. It floods your body with vital energy and makes you radiant and glowing. And with every breath out, you release all that doesn't serve you anymore. You release stress, fear, anxiety, or any other negative emotion that you don't need any longer. So you're breathing in the light and you're breathing out the dark until your whole body is glowing in this golden light. You start to relax. You think to yourself that the reason you are here today is to find out the topic that you should write about. You are curious to find out the message that Spirit has got for you. That should be put in writing. You get up from your chair and you find yourself in a beautiful meadow. This meadow is lush and green and full of life. Beautiful flowers in every shade are gently swaying in the breeze. The sky is a deep blue with fluffy clouds and a huge, strong sun that bathes your body in all the energy of the universe. It's a perfect summer's day. A bee comes up to you and beckons you to follow, and you decide to come along for the journey because it's on journeys where you find the clues to all your answers. It's easiest to think when you are wandering in nature. You start walking down the path through the meadow. Your feet are bare and the grass is lush and soft underneath. You look all around you because every single thing you see, hear, smell or feel could be a clue as to what you what you want to write about. The bee guides you to a little stream where you sit down on a tuft of moss, your feet playing in the clear water that is so cool, so refreshing. You rest a while and have a conversation with the bee about what it is you should be writing about. After a little while, the bee points at something in the river, and upon a closer look, you find a symbol that is lying there on the riverbed. You can see it clearly in the fresh water. You reach into the water with your hand and pull out the symbol and place it into the palm of your left hand. You examine this symbol and it's a clear sign, crystal clear, of what it is you should write about. It glistens in the sunshine. You hold it up to your heart, where it sinks into your body, into your heart, so you can never forget it. You take a deep breath and suddenly you know exactly what you want to write about. You know exactly what the message is that is being channeled through you. You get up and start retracing your step, still in the company of the bee, who is still chatting to you about the purpose of your writing. You slowly make your way back through the meadow, until at the far end you can already see your room and your body where you left it in the chair. You walk back into your room and get back inside your body. Now wriggle your fingers and your toes and shrug your shoulders. You can rub your hands like that and put them over your eyes. So it's a bit more nurturing when you open your eyes. And come back to the here and now. Whilst you are still in this state of relaxation, grab your pen and paper or whatever you are using today, and for the next 5 minutes, write down anything that comes into your mind, anything at all. Don't think about it, just keep writing. Okay, that was 5 minutes. So finish what you're writing. Now, would any of you like to just give a bit of feedback on how that was for you, how you found that?
Go ahead,
Yep.
Suzanne.
I love that format, and ideas come to me so quickly, and that is an important. The one I wrote "Free as a Bird," and all
Mhm.
about the fact that life isn't meant to be lived in one nest, but to appreciate all of the world around you. It's
Mhm.
okay to have a nest to keep you safe and warm, and a place to take care of yourself while you're resting and having your babies, but it's not meant to be a permanent place to live. And so many people like to tether themselves to the ground and welcome others in, but this one bird says, no, it is your job to come and explore the rest of the world. Don't tie yourself down to the ground. Keep flying.
Beautiful. That's really lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone
I,
else like to share?
Yeah, I'll share. I always have this question about how to be happy, because it's like I see people are stressing. You listen to the news, you're all you worry about like what is the next thing. People are feeling stuck. They don't have clarity or of what it is the next thing. But then, you know, happiness is very relative. It's a very subject. It's you know, depending on each person, the meaning of happiness varies. For some people, it could be money. Some people, it's just the idea of where you can be free without worry of whether it's time or financial freedom or even your own emotion. You get up in the morning, you may have positive, negative energy. How do you have control of this? It's just like the idea of the topic of happiness is what I came up with. What is it?
Wonderful. Such an important topic as well. I think it affects all of us. It really does.
Yes.
Anyone else
Thank
like
you.
to share?
Who's next? Omeka, go ahead.
Yeah, hey everyone. I was having fun in that meadow. Yeah, I was twirling around, and thank you for the yellow light. And yeah, I really felt free, and there was this energy that was just kept saying it's all right. Everything is all right. What you see to do is it's a good thing. It's a good thing. We support you, and it's okay to finish your projects. And it was just my project swirling over. And yeah, just finishing my CD, writing the book about the jury, the ebook. And I know that and it was like just pick one at a time and finish it or not. I'm like, you halfway finished all of them anyway. So yeah, so it was just an encouraging and I like to be, and just being okay with myself going over here and then coming back to listening to you and being present at the same time. And anyway, and yeah, there was a lot of self-acceptance. And I actually taped what I said, so I'm gonna go back and listen. It was a good title for one of the things I'm to write. So anyway, yeah.
Nice. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, thank you.
Anyone else?
I can share a little bit. I enjoyed the meditation a lot.
Cute.
This made me feel so relaxed, and the whole time for me anyway, when you talked about going and sitting and having your feet dangling in the water, I was just sitting there. It just took me out of my body. And for me, the whole time I was just, it was all about peace and doing work that will serve people well. And just my soul telling me, you can do it. You're here to nurture people's souls and with your heart and what you do. So it just, and it allowed me to also say, I've never even thought about writing a book, but it's wonderful to have an open mind to always learn from other people, right? Because the thought about writing a book never crossed my mind, but now I'm sitting here saying, it's good to have an open mind about things you don't know. So it really opened my mind about that. And I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for sharing your
Thank
knowledge
you. Thank you for this wonderful feedback. Would anyone else like to share? Okay.
Loveline, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. I enjoyed the exercise, and I decided to write a story about a fly, a bee. I don't know how that came to my mind. As I closed my eyes, I started writing, and the words they were like as if they were flowing through my veins, and I was writing about this bee and how it came and sat on my forehead and didn't sting me, and why did it come, why was it attracted to me, and then it was my perfume that and things kept coming. I was like, why did I write about this bee? But it's very interesting how someone can just sit down and write about something, and then ideas will now start flowing. I think it's a very good experience, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I think I'll carry on with my story, complete it. Maybe one day I might publish it for the kids, for the children.
Absolutely, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. But that is the very point, I think, of this exercise, what you just said, that you didn't even think you had anything to write about, and suddenly these ideas pop into your head, and there you are writing about a bee, something you might never have thought about. And that's the beauty of brainstorming through meditation. And that's why I take all my authors through the process, especially when they are struggling with writer's block. And then, of course, now you all hopefully have something there in writing that you can go back to and sit with it, read it over, maybe even go back to it like tomorrow. That's always a good thing as well, to literally put it away now and then pick the same piece of paper back up again tomorrow and read over it, because you suddenly read it again in a completely different light, because by tomorrow you will have forgotten the meditation, you will have forgotten about the immediate thought processes, and you are reading it with fresh eyes again. Almost like when an editor does that, for example, when they need to read your story, they will read it once and then put it away and then come back to it on another day with a completely fresh mind. And you might pick up even more bits and pieces that you suddenly realize, oh, this could be a story, or this could be a great headline, or this is the story. And like you said, Laveen, just carry on writing what you already started. And in my 90-day method, when I teach people how to actually write and complete their books, this is now the point when you take all these brainstormed ideas and start thinking about putting them into a book structure, because every book obviously has a structure, and to not complicate it at the moment, because obviously you can get very complex on some of the book structures. The easiest way literally is to think of a book structure as your table of content. You would now sit down and think up a headline for every single chapter in your book. And for a nonfiction book, you would roughly aim for, say, 100 pages. And every chapter should therefore have 10 pages. But now you take things even further. Once you have a topic for every chapter, you then think of 5 subtopics within the chapter. So you're breaking it all down into sizable little chunks. So every subchapter in your book would be 2 pages, no more. And when you are starting to think about all the content that you want to write about, you literally think about 2 pages at a time. Then it suddenly becomes so much easier. And in fact, when you're talking like that, 100 pages, 10 chapters, 5 subchapters, that makes 50 subchapters altogether. And then you suddenly realize if you were to write 2 pages a day, your book would be written in 50 days, not 90. So that gives you another 40 days just have some time off to do research, because obviously when you are wanting to write a book, research is a very important part. You can also then sit down once you have got all your chapter headings in place to play around with the order they should go, because after a while, I think when you're just starting to play around with different topics within your main topic, it starts to become very obvious the way it should all be flowing. So you are creating this organic structure for your book, because at this moment it's organic, because you can change everything at any time you want to. Even the headlines are more or less just bullet points for yourself. You can change them afterwards. You don't have to worry about being spot on at this point. Then once you have your structure and you can start researching, and there are lots of great places to research. I mean, depending on your topic, you will know best where to go. You can start with something as simple as Google and go right through to university libraries, or you can even contact experts in your field who you know and ask them for advice, or maybe to give you a quote for the book and so on. So you spend, I would say, a week or 2 on the research. I would never suggest going more than 2 weeks on research, because research, even though it's necessary, it's quite a tricky little topic, because it can suck you in. Before you know it, you can find yourself researching, and it becomes so addictive that you spend the next month surfing the net and finding things and finding bits and pieces, and you don't even realize that you are searching for things that are not even necessary. It just becomes such fun to research, and also a great excuse for procrastination. Yet again, this is a point in the book writing process where it gets really easy to postpone everything, because the old imposter is still in the back of the mind and whispering away and just looking for really great excuses not to continue at this point. So what I always say to my authors is, go out there, do all the necessary research, but restrict yourself to the absolute minimum that you need for writing on your topic. There's another thing is, if you research too much and you start just copying what you've read on the internet by other people, you may slip into this thing of not really putting your own voice into the writing, because you're the expert in whatever you want to write about. So you want to make sure your point of view is coming across, and you're not just copying and pasting the point of view of somebody you might think in the back of your mind is more experienced than you. See, the old imposter yet again, just always thinking like, wow, if they've been published in a PhD paper or whatever, or in a dissertation, they must know more than me, which is not necessarily true, because you may know just as much as these people. You just haven't gone to uni and decided to put it in the form of a dissertation. And anyway, you may know something entirely different to these people who call themselves experts. And that's what makes you an expert in your own field, your take on things, your ideas on the topic. And so anyway, once you have really researched everything and you're confident and you know the contents of every subchapter, then it's actually time to create a regular writing practice. And that's just as important as everything that's gone before, because every good writer needs to be regular. It's like everything. You can't be good at sports unless you do it regularly. You know, you have to keep in training. So an easy way to do that is to literally block out time in your calendar, in your schedule, for when you want to write. And I always say to people, this is something you shouldn't be scared of, because most people say, oh God, I can't possibly block off any more time in my schedule. Are you mad? I'm already working 8-10 hours a day. But if you really want to do this, you will find the time. Like, if you haven't got the time to block out an hour or two in one go, break it down even within the day. Do 10 minutes in your lunch break, 10 minutes just before you cook dinner. I don't know, 10 minutes during the commercial breaks on the TV. Or even better, just turn that TV off when you would have been watching Netflix and spend an hour or two. Yeah, Julie, I just seen you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of just say to you that I came on and I thought, what's this about? And then I realized it was about writing a book. And of course I love writing, but I've never thought of writing a book. But what I am very passionate about is writing a course, because we're doing this whole educational transformation. And as I was going through the meditation with you, and I thought, oh, I don't want to write a book. And then I suddenly remembered my own childhood, and we've just finished 20 weeks of, kind of, the pilot sort of thing of an education program. And I just think all the way through the authenticity of your own childhood. And when children, first come into the world, they've just got everything, their imagination is endless. And I sort of thought back to my own life and when I first remembered things, and I thought, when does that stop? What happens? So to me, it was thinking about the milestones of our upbringing, and when we start to be conditioned, into thinking in certain ways, and then off we go to school and more conditioning happens, and all these sort of processes of tightening up and losing our creativity, our natural creativity. And what could we do? Because a lot of the children, and my grandson in particular, I've just been over with, he kind of lost himself a wee bit. He's right at that age where he's trying to determine his sexuality, and the pressure on outside and everything to do that is really ridiculously enforced by the outside, demands. And so I thought, what happened to the natural part? And so my thing is, how can I help ignite in some form or other? And I'm thinking of a course rather than a book, to bring back that beauty of self-discovery, that you have when you first come into this life, but it disappears. So, wow, what a thing to be able to do and help others to do. Yeah. And I don't know whether it will be in a form of a book or a course, but thank you for just igniting that, because today I just was not a good day and I'm tired, and I thought, right, so it was nice. Thank you.
Yeah, well,
I don't know whether that's helpful or not, but I'd love to write about how to unpack our conditioning and the duality of our lives, and get back to it really creating.
That would
Thank
be a
you, Julie.
fascinating topic. Thank you.
Can I interrupt for a minute? We have 5 more minutes left, so we have Suzanne, but then anyone else who haven't had a chance to say something, I'd like to hear, and then of course, Silke, she's a publisher, so she probably has information if you are
Yeah.
interested in working with her, or even we'll have her come back and you'll have a draft, whatever, in the
Okay,
future.
that's me
But
done.
yeah, so does anyone else want to say something before we go back to Suzanne? Arlene, I see you're kind of wanted to say something.
Guess you read my mind that I wanted
Yes, yes, I saw it. I saw it.
to. I guess I just wanted to say how wonderful it is, the process. Many people, when they think of writing a book, they think of writing a book, and the worst thing we can do is think of writing a book because it's overwhelming. And there really isn't anybody that sits down and writes a book. I love to say the only person I've ever heard of doing that is Bill Clinton, who actually sat down and a 300 and something 65-page book. But in general, most of us, we can think in terms of writing a chapter, or we can think in terms of, as you said, Silke, writing 2 pages, or, just writing a little on a topic. Anybody can do that. So thanks for taking that barrier. I've written 2 books thus far, and I think the easiest part for me is the ideas. The hardest part for me is actually the opposite, like stopping, knowing when to stop, because there's so many ideas that come to mind. So yeah, I could write like different books. So when I sat down and I took those few minutes, I have 2 pages worth of different topics that I would write on. And so the challenge for me is to narrow it down to just writing on one topic, and really feeling like that one topic is so pertinent that I can contribute something to that particular space, and knowing which space it needs to be. Otherwise, I can just, I could just keep going and going and going in different directions.
Thank you, Arlene.
you.
We'll come back to you, Suzanne, but I just want to make sure everybody has a chance. Val?
Well, writing a book was, it's definitely not on my radar. I never had the desire, I don't have the desire either. But I enjoy participating in that exercise, because definitely it opened my mind that if I do that type of exercise more often, then more ideas will get to me. And because I know I can write, like even recently, one of my friends said, I have to write my bio. Can you help? Can you help? And I'm like, sure, I'll help. And so when you said, doing a little bit of research, I'm like, okay, because I wrote my own bio, but I know me. And so for writing for somebody else, it's a different story, obviously. And so I just went on Google and how to write a bio. And then they tell you. And I'm like, oh, I got the plan. So I got together with my friend and I said, well, I have a few questions to ask you. And so we fill in the blank, and that guided me basically. And then I go still in, into a gratitude moment of being grateful of those ideas that are gonna flow out of my pen or out of my mind, writing for that person. And so I sent that to her. She loved it. I'm like, wow, I can write, I guess. But it was just 1 page. It was not 100. And that took me an hour.
Thank you, Val.
Still 1 page, 1 hour doesn't mean your book is done in 100 hours.
That's awesome. This is awesome. So Suzanne, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure everybody got a chance to talk too. Kind of like my win, like Arlene was saying, is I had finished my 2nd book, and the 2nd book just blew through because I was so in the zone. But what I found, and as Silke said, is when you lay out the chapters, it's very easy to get organized. And I was even telling someone who wants to write a book, I said, even if you jump around from chapter to chapter, when you get ideas, now you have a basis on how to write. So one day you have an idea on this chapter, but it's theoretically chapter 5, it's okay. So don't feel tied to write it from the very once upon a time. Jump around, and as the ideas come in, and that's what I found was with my second book when I was writing is it wasn't written in order. It was written by the ideas. And Julie, I have an idea. I found that if you write a story about kindergarten first graders and say daydreaming is okay, because they used to get mad at me for daydreaming, and I'm like, I never stopped. And as the subjects, not that it's the worst thing, but if teachers plan daydreaming time into the schedule in a way, it allowed the kids to just sit like and almost do the drum like Silke did and say, just let it come. Just this is our daydream time. Make daydreaming okay.
Yeah,
And
that's the
lose it.
problem though. That's the problem, is that the systems prevent that. And so somehow we have to come in as an alternative system. And I think this is what we're trying to build, you know, because you can't do too much when they're all regimented and the curriculums do not allow for this. So that's the point. How can we build something that's going to be available for people anyway, even if they are at school or kindy, you know, something
Julie.
extra.
Yeah, we are at the top of the hour, but I know a few of you haven't had a chance to say something. So if you need to leave, go ahead and leave. But otherwise, we'll stay a few more minutes extra. Binta, you're next.
Oh, I already shared.
Or you did. Joey, do you have anything you'd like to share? I know she has her family there. With that, anyone else wants to say something? Oh, go ahead, Joey. Joey?
I already sent my message. I sent my message.
Okay, thank you. So anyone want to say before I turn it back to Silke, because she has some information to share with you, for those of you who are interested. Silke, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So if any of you are interested in finding out more what I do, I will be putting free ebook in the group later on, which you are very welcome to download, which goes through the entire method that I just talked about. Just if you want to have a read on it and, you know, go into it in much more detail than I was able to do in just the 1 hour. So I will be putting that in the Facebook group, and I believe you can all download it from there. But thank you everybody for participating today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Silke. Really appreciate this session. This is really a really good topic because several of us already are authors in this group, but that is absolutely the process. Like you said, it's really take faster once you have the structure and you divide it into sub chapters. And I know Arlene has book, and Suzanne and myself too. But maybe in the future we'll invite you again, Silke, and some of us may have a draft here that can. But thank you for the information, and thank you for the free ebook. And if anybody is interested in following up with Silke, she's, you know, she's on Facebook, so she could.
I'm in the group, so it's easy.
Yes,
to get
you're
hold
in the
of me.
group. So thank you again. Next week, I think it's Val is the, you know, we'll be doing that. We'll be the presenter for our host for next week. Thank you again, Silke, and every one of you here. Until next Thursday. See you next week. Have a great week.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye, and thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
Take care. Thanks a lot.